Hi folks, well I just wanted to give you kind of an update and some new things about the garden, especially my upper garden here. As you can see, I've got some things coming up. This is popcorn, and you can see some of the other plants, the tomato plants and the pepper plants are coming up. But I also developed a problem that I just noticed yesterday. If you look here, these are the broccoli plants that I grew in the house. But if you look at this one, yes, something has been eating the tops off some of my broccoli plants. You can see down through the row there's some that are missing leaves. It's the first time I've had a problem with that animals went after it. I'm not sure if it's deer or rabbits, but because the soil was, before I had tilled it, the soil was kind of compacted, so I didn't really see any tracks, and then we had rain last night, so I'm not sure. I'm guessing deer, but it could well be rabbits too. But at any rate, I knew I was going to have to do this eventually, but I didn't think I'd have to do it yet. But what I've had to do is hook up my electric fence set up here for this garden. This is just as I explained in a previous video, it's a solar-powered electric fence generating unit. It came from Tractor Supply, nothing major. It's not a huge one, and it certainly wouldn't say keep out major critters like bears and so on from something you didn't want them to get in. I wouldn't even use something of this size for cattle, but for smaller animals, deer, dogs, and rabbits, it's adequate. I'll just give you a few details about how this works. It just screws onto this post here. I think you can see there at the top I have a screw where it goes through the handle there, and then there's one in the back where it slides down on. It's fairly secure. You're not going to move it off of there. It's certainly weatherproof. They recommend that when you get a new unit like this, you put it out in the sun for 4 full sunny days to fully charge the solar batteries. Now that's not a problem with this unit. I pulled it out of the shed probably a month ago now, so it's been sitting out on the roof facing south, sitting out on the chicken coop lean-to roof for about a month facing south, so I'm so sure it was fully charged. And I think you can see, I don't know what the sun here, let's see if you can see the light flashing there. Yes, maybe you can. That shows that it is operating. The on-off switch is underneath it. So the way this basically works, it's a direct current system, and what I've done is I've run 2 strands of this high tensile electric fence wire around the garden. I think it's 17 gauge, I'm not sure, but it comes in a spool, maybe a 1/4 mile long or whatever. I just did 2 strands this year, hoping that would do it. And of course then you have to connect it to the post so that the electricity isn't passing through your posts. What you want is that when someone or something touches the bare wire, it completes the circuit because they're grounded. And as you can see here, you actually put 3 grounding rods into the ground. The white wire there is just a 12-2 Romex that I use, connecting it from the ground. Brings it over here to the first of the 3, and then I just have more bare wire going to the other 2 posts. These are about 7-8 feet long, these posts that I drove into the ground, so that you get a good ground there. And then this last one here at the end, that provides the ground. So if somebody touches it, the foot of whatever is touching it is touching the ground. That completes the circuit because electricity is passing through these 2 wires as we speak. And then the other connector over here, connection over here, you can see I just used a piece of black Romex to go to the hot side. Just stripped the ends off a bit and wrapped it to the bare wire, so that's sending electricity through there. And so that'll come into focus better. And through there. And again, as I said, you connect the wire with insulators on the post so that there is no grounding right at the post. You want the electricity to go all the way around the perimeter of the fence, of course, so that the whole thing is electrified. And then when I get to the end here, I have these gate closures. They're just basically a metal strip through the middle, and there's a spring inside there, and then just plastic or rubber. If I want to get in and out of the garden, obviously I just unhook them. I usually turn the power off first, of course, but that's the easiest way. But again, you can see that the electricity is passing all the way through. I did have to put up a couple posts here that I had taken out when I plowed last fall. On these two sides, you can see here's one, and then on the far end you can see the other. The other posts, the corner posts and the side posts, I just left in. But on here again, you can see there's this type of insulator. This is just a cheaper plastic one. It just goes into the wood with a screw, and then the wire passes through it. And again, it insulates the post from the electricity, so it passes right through this area without it disconnecting anything, you know, with the electricity going to the ground. So that's what you want with that. And I have a few extra insulators on these posts. At one point in time, I think I had 5 strands of wire going around the garden, thinking I needed all that, and I've decided since that that's not necessary, that it seems to do the job. I have the lower strand is for the smaller critters, the upper strand is for the larger ones like the deer. So typically just an animal getting its nose close to this will get just a little zap. It's certainly nothing that's going to cause any damage or anything lethal. It's more of a scare than anything, but it's a deterrent to keep them away. I need this for the dogs too, because they've had a tendency to just run through the garden, especially when the stuff was just starting to grow. There would be a problem with them stepping down plants, and I don't want that. So I got around to getting this up yesterday, so now the electric fence is active, and hopefully it will keep the critters out. As you can see, I still have to get my tomato plants caged and staked. They're getting to the point that if I don't soon do it, they will be too big. But as you can see, I've got a bunch of my cages here ready to go. We had rain last night, so the ground's drying out now. This morning it was too muddy to get in, but maybe by later this afternoon I can get that done. And as you can see up here, my vine crops are also coming up fairly well here. The squash and the cucumbers, you can see the 2 rows of them that are starting to come up fairly well. So we'll see what happens with them, but everything is growing well. We've had a stretch of nice sunny days and enough rain to keep the ground not saturated, but the stuff watered. I haven't had to do any watering, obviously. We started with such a wet spring that I haven't had to worry about that. So at this point, all the garden would need is I'll probably hit these vine crops with a shot of Miracle-Gro to give them a push. And the tomatoes I want to mulch around so that I can keep the weeds down around them as they continue to grow. So everything's a bit late this year, but growing well. And now that I've got the fencing up, I shouldn't need to worry about critters too much getting in here to cause me some damage. As far as the fruits and vegetables go, I haven't seen too much trouble with animals eating what I grow in the garden, except maybe for the corn. The deer like the corn. And occasionally possibly a raccoon. I don't know. It depends on how hungry they are. Not too much with the tomato plants or the cucumbers and the squash. They don't really eat much of that. You have to worry about slugs and occasionally mice or moles if the crops are laying on the ground. But most of what's grown here, the animals don't bother with. So it's not a major problem. It's just trying to preserve what I do have and get these plants to grow to the point where they're mature, that the leaves won't be quite so tender like the broccoli obviously was for whatever was eating it. So at any rate, just wanted to give you an update on that and to show you the electric fence setup that I have here. These solar powered fence units come in various sizes. You can spend up to several $100s if you want a bigger, more powerful one. But as I said, being as far away as I am from electricity here, I don't want to run an extension cord several hundred feet, obviously. So this little solar powered unit works well. This one's about 3 years old, I think, 3 or 4 years old. Maybe 4 years old, and it's still working well. In the fall, I'll just take it off and put it in the shed for the winter, and we'll go from there. And I'm sure eventually the batteries will wear out, but until then, it's doing the job for me. So thank you for watching, and please subscribe to our channel.